Hello, everyone. This is Truby Chiavello with Primo Magazine. I'm the editor of Primo Magazine, magazine for and about Italian Americans. And today's date is July 20th. And I'm coming to you today with a roundup of the news, last week's news from an Italian American perspective. I have about 9 stories to share with you, 9 events, I guess, to talk about today. We're from Washington, D.C., as always. And it's, it's summertime in Washington, so that means it's going to be hot, humid. And, if you're going to be walking outside in the District of Columbia, planning to visit, be sure to bring water with you because you can get very dehydrated very quickly. When I first moved here, it didn't bother me. Then people kept on saying this to me, you need to bring bottled water wherever you go. And I was ambivalent about it, but then I realized later on how right they were, because it really does get hot, humid. It just seeps you, just seeps you of your fluids and stuff, and you just have to, keep refreshing, keep on drinking, so you keep on going. So that's what that's all about here in the District of Columbia. Please like and share this video, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, because I really like what I'm doing. I love it that I can come to you today this direct way and talk to you about all the things that are of interest to me, that I'm sure that I hope are of interest to you as well, from Italian American lens, from Italian American perspective, based upon our heritage, our culture, and what we love and what we're all about. And let's start off real quick, just to cover some things that I talked about in my last video. Last video was kind of controversial a little bit. I've gotten some feedback from people. Most people support it. I came out and I endorsed Curtis Sliwa for mayor of New York City. Come this November, New Yorkers are going to go to the polls to elect their mayor, and it's a tight race there. You have the socialist communist, let's call him what he is, Zoran Mandani. You have Andrew Cuomo. He's the former governor. He's in the race. He announced last week that he was going to run as an independent. You know that as well. You have Curtis Sliwa. And then you have the mayor who's running for re-election, Eric Adams. Now, since my last video, there was a poll taken. And you remember how I said, don't listen to people saying it's a fait accompli, that the Republicans can't win. Well, this poll shows a very, very tight race in New York City. They have Mamdani. He's up at 26%. Cuomo is at 23%. And Curtis Sliwa is at 22%. And then you have Eric Adams down to 13%. So Curtis Sliwa, the Republican in the race, founder of the Guardian Angels, Primo Magazine has endorsed him to be the next mayor. He's half Italian on his mother's side. He's gone up to about 22%. And he's running a really a good campaign, I think. He's just taking himself. He's going all over New York City, everywhere you can go. He's got tremendous amounts of energy, and he's just doing, handheld with the iPhone or the smartphone, taking video, showing you the state of the city and how he plans to improve it. And he recently did a video of himself in Bay Ridge, in Brooklyn, and he was shaking people's hand. People were, reaching out to him, shaking his hands, greeting him. So he's running a typical street New York campaign, and this is what we want. And meanwhile, Mamdani, I think he's going to go down in the polls. I'll tell you why, because more and more stuff is coming out. He's the state legislator there, legislator representative there in Queens, and he's just a communist through and through. I mean, what else can you say about it? He came out against private property. There's a video out there saying that he wants to eliminate your property rights. So imagine that. You save you save up your money, you get a loan, you put the down payment on a house you want to buy in Staten Island or Queens or someplace like that, a row house maybe, or a detached home, and he wants to take that away from you. You don't own it anymore. That's very typical of Marxist of Marxist theory. You have to take away people's private property. You have to take away their property rights. And this is something that's just through and through. It's if you're a socialist like he is, it's very hard not to be a communist, because that's the end game of it all. You know, that's what you want to do. All the socialism you want to go through. It's eventually to get you to that utopian communist state, and that's what he's all about. So Curtis Sliwa, he's not about that. He's about doing what's best for New York. And you can look at my previous video where I endorse him. I go into his background, and I talk to you about what he plans to do for New York City. So that's the latest news there. We also did a video on Newton, Massachusetts. Newton, Massachusetts. They're celebrating the 90th anniversary of the St. Mary of Carmen Festival. It's done by now. And the mayor there, Mayor Ruth Ann Fuller, they had these, they had the tricolors, the Italian colors, red, white, and green there on a certain section of the city, on the roads. And in the dead of night, she decided to tell the Public Works Department to paint over it, to paint the yellow, paint the yellow traffic lanes there over the colors. Well, she said we might do it. We might bring it back. We might bring the colors back. And then she said, "Oh no, I can't, because it has to do with public safety. We don't want cars to crash because they're looking down on the tricolors rather than the yellow." And so this is what she's all about. But anyway, somebody a few days back went ahead and with his own spray paint cans spray painted over some of the yellow lines with the colors of Italy, red, white, and green. And guess what? That's the police were on call to investigate that crime. They have other crimes to deal with, but they're going to investigate this crime here. And sure enough, they caught the man. He's a 54-year-old man, resident, I guess, of Newton, Massachusetts, and they're going to charge him. They're going to charge him, for public vandalism. So here you go. He have these tricolors in that city were there for over 90 years, and I think at one point in time they got disrepair. So some of the Jewish residents there helped repaint it. This is back in the 80s, and Newton is the sister city of San Donato Valdicomo, a city in the Lazio region of Italy. And it's a big thing there because what happened was a lot of the people came from there, settled in Newton, Massachusetts, and that city was important in World War II because a lot of the Italian residents there hid Jewish Italians from the Nazis that took over that part. They were going to, bring them to concentration camps, and so they hid the Jewish residents in their homes. And this is something significant. But Ruth Ann Fuller doesn't understand that significance, doesn't understand that component of heritage. So they're trying to work out some arrangement with her to try and figure things out. They're thinking maybe they can paint the lines parallel to the yellow lines. But I think the mayor is who she is. She's typical of a lot of the Democrats nowadays. They just increasingly hate Eurocentric heritage, and doesn't matter what we get out of it. They just want to separate themselves from that. And I think she's just really anti-Italian. That's really what she's all about, and she's going to stay there until November, until they elect a new mayor, I guess. This is what you're dealing with. It's not just big cities, it's smaller cities, it's mid-sized cities, it's small towns and villages. You just have to keep on fighting out there. So the people of the Italian American community of Newton, Massachusetts, please keep on fighting this. Don't give up. Don't give up until those colors return. And never mind about the city councilman there and other people say, well, gee whiz, we're trying, but the mayor doesn't seem to want to do things. Keep at it. Don't give up on this because this is what it's all about. But other news in this week, sad news, really sad news. Connie Francis. Connie Francis, my goodness, she passed away. She was 88 years old. She died in Pompano Beach, Florida. The voice of a generation. What can you say about her? She made the cover of Primo magazine. We had an interview with her. That's a few years back. And she's just, she just had all these great hits from 1957 until about 1963, after the British invasion came in. That period, by the way, from 1950, the mid-50s until the early 60s, through the early 60s was just dominated by Italians. When you think about it, you got Bobby Darin, you got Frankie Avalon, Bobby Rydell, Fabian, and you also had Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. They were coming up with a Rat Pack. You had Perry Como. He had a television show that was enormously popular. And it was just a big time for Italian American singers. And she was there. She was at the forefront of it all. She was she was beautiful. She had a beautiful voice. And, she was the kind of girl that, the girl next door, the all-American girl, really. She was born on December 12th, 1937. She died on July 16th. But she was born in Newark, New Jersey. Conchetta Rosa Maria Francanero was her birth name. And her family came from Calabria. And she was a very bright kid. They lived in Newark, New Jersey for a while. They moved to Brooklyn for a little bit. Then they went and they resettled in Belleville, New Jersey. And she was just an outstanding student there. She graduated second in her class in 1955. But she sang and she played the accordion. And so on a talent show that was there by Arthur Godfrey, she showed up and she sang and played the accordion. And he, gave her two pieces of advice. He said that first, your name is too long. Changes. So instead of Conchetta Rosa Maria Francanera, she became Connie Francis. And the accordion, he said, ditch the accordion. And so therefore, and she was glad to do that because this was this big bulky instrument that she could play. And she was able just to see herself and sing and that sort of thing. She was able to get a contract with MGM, but she ran into a problem. She couldn't get any hits. That was the thing. In the beginning of her career, she couldn't get a hit. And so they were going to let her go. So a couple of things we learned from her about her life is two things. One is if you're a parent and you have a child who shows some talent, follow through on it. That's what her father did. Her father, George Francanera, pushed her, managed her, helped her move ahead. So that's important. Another thing that's also the second thing you have to learn is if you're a kid, listen to your parents. This is what you have to do because that's what she did with her father at one point in time. Again, her career wasn't taking off like she wanted to. And, the MGM was going to let her go. She just wasn't having any hits. And so she thought, well, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to finish my singing career. I'm going to go ahead and pursue. She wanted to be a doctor, actually. She got a scholarship at NYU. But she was going to give it one last shot. And so her father told her, look, there was a song that was popular in 1923. If it's popular in 1923, I'm sure it'll be popular in 1958 if we can do a different arrangement with it. It's a song that kids can dance to. It's melodic. It's a nice little story that's there. Maybe you should sing this song. Well, she didn't want to sing it. She disagreed with her father. And they're there in the studio, and studio time is time is money. And they're arguing, and finally she goes ahead and sing it, and it's her biggest hit. It's "Who's Sorry Now" was the song, and her father was right. And so this got her back on track. She, from there, she took off. And, she did the next big song, I think, was Stupid Cupid, I think, was the song that she sang. And then her father gave her another piece of advice that she didn't want to take, but she decided to at the last moment, was he said, okay, you've got some hits. Why don't we go and just sing a set of songs, have an album that's in one language besides English? Let's try Italian. Let's sing songs of Italy. And she didn't want to do that at first, but then he persuaded her. So they had to go to the Abbey Road Studios. That's where the Beatles made their records. And this was 1959, I believe. And she was there, and they recorded a bunch of songs in Italian. And it was a huge hit. She recorded Ballare, Arrivederci di Roma. She sang O Sole Mio, a beautiful voice. And it was a good idea because the Italian American community embraced it because they wanted to hear the songs at the time, but also Italy and other parts of Europe. So she did this more often. She did songs in German. She grew up Newark, New Jersey, for a while until they moved to Belleville. she could speak Yiddish and Hebrew because it was a mix of Jewish and Italian that lived there. So she made an album in the Hebrew language, and then she Spanish. So a lot of other singers copied this, and they sang songs in other languages, and so she really started a trend there. She kept on being big until, like I said, the British invasion kind of changed everything when the Beatles came, and then everybody started pursuing hard rock, and the Woodstock generation took an effect. But yet she still was performing, she still was recording. But then for her also with her was that she was planning. She met Bobby Darin at one point in time. I think it was early '60s, and she was. They fell in love, and they performed together on a TV show, and so they were dating. And Bobby Darin wanted to elope. They were going to elope and get married, and her father, Mr. Frankenauer, found out about this, and he took a gun and he chased Bobby Darin out of the building. So Connie Francis and him, the engagement was broken off, and then a couple years later, she's driving with her father. They're going through, I think, the Holland Tunnel in New York City, and they hear on the radio that Bobby Darin is going to marry Sandra Dee. And so her father said, basically, I'm glad he's out of our life. And she said, what I hope happens is the tunnel collapses and the water comes in and kills us. That's how she felt about the situation. So, that was the one true love of her life. She really didn't. The marriage, she married other men, but I think she had like 4 marriages that she went through. She didn't have any children except for one that she adopted. But what happened to her was in 1974, she's playing at a festival. And I think it's Jericho, New York. And she's there, and she goes back to the Howard Johnson, the hotel in the Howard Johnson. And she goes inside her room, and there's a man, a stranger with a knife. And he attacks her, and she was, brutally assaulted and violated. And they found her the next day tied to a chair with a mattress over her. So it was a terrible, terrible crime that had been committed. She went ahead. They never found the man who did this, by the way. And she went ahead and she sued Howard Johnson. And this, I think she won like $2-3 million out of it. But it changed the way hotels, the security of hotels and motels. They began to put in more safety features to protect women and protect people. So this was this happened to her, and she suffered psychosis over the years, and she was misdiagnosed, was what she said. They thought she was suffering from manic depression, and they thought she might have had ADD, and so they prescribed for her opioids, believe it or not. And she says, it sounds incredible, but she said she was taking about 50 pills of Davron a day. Imagine that. It sounds extraordinary, but that's what she said she was doing. She must have been addicted to the drugs. So she was in a down point in her life, late 70s, 80s. Her brother then was killed. Some tragedy in her life. Her brother was a lawyer, and he was killed by the mafia because he spoke out against organized crime. And so after that happened, she got upset with herself because of self-pity, and just decided that I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get back on my feet, I'm going to record, I'm going to perform. And that's what she did. And, she went to the Las Vegas circuit, went there. They would have the Diva show. She would team up with somebody else. And then around, this is through the 80s and 90s, 2000, she wanted to make her own biography. She wanted to make a movie about herself. And she teamed up with Gloria Estefan. And Gloria Estefan was supposed to take care of this for her. But it never worked out. And Connie Francis was annoyed about that because she wanted to get a certain screenplay writer to write the bio for the film, and Gloria Estefan rejected that. And at one point in time, even Dolly Parton had called her up on the phone saying, "I'd like to do your story," but she dismissed it because she was working with Gloria Estefan. So she regretted that part of her life because for like a good 5-10 years she wasted trying to get a movie made of herself. But I think a movie should be made of her. And I think she should be, I don't know if she's inducted in the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If she's not, she should be. But, what an incredible person. She got, last year or so, she suffered she broke her hip. and they were trying to treat her with stem cell therapy. And the prognosis was good. She was going to make a comeback. She was going to get off the wheelchair and start walking again. And I think she was. But then when she was back at her home in Florida, she suffered some pain in her pelvic area. And then her health declined and she passed away. But, an extraordinary person. Like all of us, she had her ups and downs in life. But, for the price of fame, what you have is continuity. You can always watch her on YouTube, watch her, all the videos, the songs she sings. So she really never dies, somebody like that. But, it's an Italian-American part of our lives. She made our lives better with her beautiful music. Every man wanted to date her and every woman wanted to be her because every man wanted to date her. That's the way she was. But, she will be missed. But at least we can see her again and again because her memory is preserved in all those shows that she appeared and her music and everything else. There was another sad loss, too. Dr. Domenic Amara of the Italian-American Alliance. This is an organization, the Italian-American Alliance, as you know, I've talked a lot about them. They've done incredible work in Massachusetts, and Dr. Amara was one of the founding members of that organization. He was the chairperson of the Italian-American Alliance. I met him when Basil Russo and the Conference of Presidents of major Italian-American organizations had this huge summit here in Washington, D.C. All the Italian-American organizations were there, and Dr. Amara was there. And he earned a PhD in biology from Boston College. He grew up there in East Boston and pretty much stayed there for his entire life. He became a principal at a school there in that area. And he began a medical clinic in Guinea, Africa. And he mentioned that when I met him. He showed me some photographs of the clinic there in the outback in that area of Africa. So this is a man who was truly an egalitarian, an intellectual in many ways, a man of science, a man devoted to teaching kids, and a man devoted to his Italian-American heritage. He was adamant about Columbus Day, fighter for the Columbus monuments and statues, and he will be missed. He suffered cancer for a while, and he was undergoing treatment, but he still was very active. This is something that we can say about some of the treatments that are there. You're diagnosed with this disease, but you go through this treatment, and you can still live. You can still be productive for some years, and this is good. But it's kind of, it's always sad when somebody like that leaves us because he's devoted to the community, devoted to his heritage, his people, intelligently. He's a man of studies and of science, and he gives back to the community. And so he will be missed. And our thoughts and prayers with everyone, his family, and with everyone in the Italian-American Alliance. I'll try to have a link to their organization. Just a real good group of people who are fighting for us in Massachusetts. And this brings us to a recent announcement that's related. The Italian-American Alliance teamed up with the Italian-American One Voice Coalition and Unico National. And they teamed up with the Native Americans Guardians Association, NAGA. And I interviewed the person who's in charge of that organization. And they're working together because a lot of the Native Americans don't like what's happening. They don't like, they're with us in Columbus Day. They're with us to preserve the Columbus monuments and statues. They don't like it either that people are changing the names of mascots and other things related to their heritage. They're very proud of the fact that you're going to name a football team or baseball team about someone of their culture and heritage. Makes a lot of sense too, because if you're going to name a football team after a warrior, a class of warriors of the Native American tribes, that shows tremendous respect and honor and inspiration. And it's not a put down in any way. And so this doesn't make any sense. But they have been at the forefront to bring back the Washington Redskins. As you know, the Washington Redskins, back in 2020, they changed their name from the Washington Redskins to the Washington Football Team. and then they changed it to the Washington Commanders. They had a wonderful season last year. They went all the way to the NFL championship in their league, one step below the Super Bowl. Some incredible football games. But the Native Americans Guardians Association have been at the forefront of trying to bring back the name Redskins. So right now, what they're trying to do, they're building a new stadium here in Washington, D.C., where RFK Stadium used to be, right there before you get to the Anacostia River. And, the mayor and the city council trying to work out a deal, where they must give up, probably they have to contribute $1 billion for the owner to contribute $1 billion, this sort of thing. And today, President Donald Trump said, bring back the Redskins name. He wants to bring back the Redskins name. He also said he wants to bring back the Cleveland Indians name. They're called the Cleveland Guardians nowadays, and they changed their name. And he wants that to come back. And the Native American Guardian Association, they agree with that. So that's happening. Will they change their name? I don't know. The Redskins might have to change the name if there's political pressure, because Washington, D.C., it's under the final say really comes to the members of Congress. So if there's a movement to do that before our mayor can sign on the dotted line to build a stadium, they may have to change their name. For the longest kind of time, the Redskins were at the forefront. The Native American Guardian Association says that the Redskins is not a put-down name at all. It's a sign. It's a warrior name. It signifies red paint for warrior for the indigenous people. So they would like to bring the name back. And they've been working very closely with the Italian American One Voice Coalition and the Italian American Alliance and Unico National. So we'll see what happens. In other news, we did a story on Pope Leo, his ethnic background. The video was taken off by YouTube for some reason, and so I had to redo the video. I'm not sure why, but anyway. There's somebody from, I believe NIAF was there videotaping himself, shaking hands with Pope Leo. Pope Leo talked about his Italian heritage. So he's definitely Italian. And he made the news this last week. Excuse me. Because of the attack in Gaza, church that's there, the Holy Family Church in Deir al-Balah. I think that's the name of the location in Gaza. I think it's the only Catholic church in Gaza. And the Israelis bombed it. Bombed it good. 3 people were killed. It's a place, I think they have, 600 Gazans took shelter there in the church. It looks like it's an old church, but I think it was built in the 19th century. And the parish priest, Gabriel Romanelli, he was injured in the attack, so it was a serious attack. And the Pope came out against it. He was very adamant about it. He said that, he called for an immediate halt to the barbarity of the war. This is what he said. And so he's coming out very strong about this. As you know, the Israeli attacks in Gaza occurred after the October 7th, 2023 terrorist attack by Hamas that killed about 1,200 Israelis. Many of them were there at a concert, an outdoor concert. But since that time, estimates are wide-ranging, but many people agree that about 58,000 Palestinians have been killed in the counterstrikes by the Israelis because of this terrorist attack. And it's been going on for almost two years now. Well, the Cardinal, the Secretary of State for the Holy See for the Vatican, Pietro Parolin, spoke out against the strikes in Gaza. He echoed what Pope Leo had said, and he said there is absolutely no distinction between one or the other. He was talking about the Catholics who were killed in that raid versus the majority Muslims that are there and other people of faiths. And he said, all are the object of unacceptable violence. All are victims of a conflict that must end as soon as possible. We take them all into our hearts. We truly feel them all present within us. And for everyone, we implore the peace of God, And above all, through their sacrifice of blood, we pray for the end of this tragedy. So the Vatican is coming out very strong in this conflict. And so this might put pressure on the Israeli military and the Israeli government, Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister, to finally put together a ceasefire and end the attacks and end the violence. Terrible situation there that's happening, but it seems to be ongoing. It's one of those things that just never ends. It was happening when I was a kid, and it's still happening today. But we'll see what happens. The attack in Gaza, by the way, brings up to mind what's going on in Syria. Again, how do you say this is related to the Italian culture, Italian heritage? Well, Syria has a number of sites, landmarks, that were built by the Romans and the Venetians and other people that had settled there, that had conquered at one point in time Syria, and that just Syria is an old civilization that's been there for many, many years. Palmyra is a place that's right outside Aleppo that's been full of landmarks, but other things that they've also have a number of Catholic churches, old Catholic churches, and other things. This is the Syria, as you know, where the Apostle Paul, the disciple Paul, I guess, saw God on his way to Damascus, and which is the capital of Syria. It's been taken over by a group of fundamentals. Don't listen to the media. The media thinks that Jolani, the person who's taken over Syria, is a moderate. He's not. He was a former member of Al Qaeda. He's a fundamental. And so they're destroying churches there. They're destroying landmarks that are there. That's been part of our Italian culture and Italian heritage in other places. They're doing this because they're not Islamic or they're not Syrian or whatever. And so we need to speak out about that too. We have to preserve this history that's there, that's being destroyed by crazy fanatics, violent fanatics, people who don't care about the future. They're there to cause mayhem, to cause violence. And even though they've taken over this country with the support of the United States, it's still something that we have to speak out about. Well, other news in the week that came about, big news was Jannik Sinner. Jannik Sinner, the tennis player. Here he is right here on the cover of Primo. And, what an article on this guy. Really, this kid is something else. He's 23 years old. He's from northern Italy. He was going to be a skier, but then became a tennis player. And so he made history for the first time ever in Wimbledon, and Italian won it. Italian won Wimbledon. That was Jannik Sinner on July 13th. He won. He defeated his arch rival, Carlos Alcaraz, 4-6, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4, in a pretty amazing match. I saw that, and it was a lot closer than it looked like. The two, Alcaraz and Sinner, are shaping up to be one heck of a rivalry in tennis. I think Alcaraz has got 8 wins so far to Sinner's 5 against him. But, these are two different kinds of players, and they were there in the final of Wimbledon, and Jannik Sinner won it. It's the first time Italy ever won Wimbledon. Isn't that something? They've come a long way. But he is really on the way to become a top tennis player, probably maybe one of the best ever. And so we'll see how it goes between him and Carlos Alcaraz, who's from Spain, and Jannik Sinner is from Italy, of course. So you have the Italian-Spain rivalry that's happening there. Two different kinds of players. Alcaraz is more of a spontaneous player. He's more creative. He likes to take chances. Watching him play, I was reminded of Jimmy Connors. Remember him? How he played. He'd like to get that shot, that amazing shot to win the game or to win the set. And he reminds me of him. Jannik Sinner is more just power, and he's got a lot of power in his swings. He's tremendously athletic, and that's why he won in Wimbledon. He just kind of he was just a better athlete. He just could get to the ball quicker. He could hit it better, hit it stronger, and I just think he just overpowered Alcaraz eventually. But it was an excellent match, and congratulations to Jannik Sinner. If you want to read about Jannik Sinner, you can buy a back issue of Primo magazine. It's right here. It's a great edition that we did. There's of course other articles, but it's a great if you haven't subscribed to Primo, if you haven't read it yet, this would be a great edition. It's one of our best, and it really gives you the full story of Jannik Sinner, and it talks also about some of the other Italian tennis players over the years. It's funny. Italy, as it progresses, as it gets more, as the economy improved over the years, you could then afford to go to the country club. You could then afford to build tennis courts and other things, and the kids could then get the kind of training that they needed. And this is kind of what's happening. It just seems like as countries become more prosperous, they become better at these kinds of sports, tennis, golf, and these sorts of things. The typical country club type of sport that's there. And, I think Italy's coming into her own right now. Jannik Sinner, he won the Australian Open, he won the U.S. Open, and now he won Wimbledon. I think he only needs to win the French Open, which is clay. But, he's really on route to become one of the great tennis players. So we're going to watch his career very closely. In Italy, by the way, there's other news that happened. When Jannik Sinner was winning Wimbledon, Italy had a big press conference, the Italian government. And this has to do with the Strait of Messina Bridge. The Strait of Messina Bridge. Let me tell you something. They want to build a bridge between Calabria and Sicily. So for the first time in history, first time in human history, Sicily is going to be connected to the European mainland. Think about that for a second. Currently, people go from Sicily to the bottom of Italy's boot. They do it by ferry, but they're going to build a bridge. Now, this has been going on for a very, very, very long time. I mean, you can go back to the ancient Romans where they decided to put pontoons to connect two areas. It's not that far it's not a far area between each other, but it's a no-brainer. But for some reason, they've never been able to put it together. This goes back to 1969 when engineers came up with proposals to try and link the two mainlands. What they're going to do is they're going to produce a bridge. It's going to be, when it's completed, and it's supposed to be completed in 2032. So you had Matteo Salvini. He's the Minister of Infrastructure and Transport. You had the Finance Minister, Giancarlo Giorgetti, the Sicilian Regional President, Renato Schifani, and the Calabrian President, Roberto Acciuto. And they had a big press conference there. What they did is they signed the agreement that begins the construction on the two coastal sides. And once that's done, I guess the foundation, whatever it is they have to put together, the roads are going to go in and out. Then they'll build the spanning bridge. This will be the largest, when it's completed, the largest single span suspension bridge in the world. It's going to be about 2 miles long, and it's going to be about 65 meters above the sea, so that boats can go through it. That's about 213 feet above the ocean surface. It's going to cost $13 billion, and they can't build a tunnel because there's earthquakes there. But the suspension bridge they're going to build is going to be earthquake resistant. So, this goes back. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it, to be honest with you, because they've talked about this for a long, long time. Going back to the 60s, the 80s, they actually were having designs. They actually developed a company that was going to build the bridge. The Strait of Messina was going to put it all together. Then you had Berlusconi. He was really adamant about this. He wanted to build a bridge. It would be a big success of his premiership, but they didn't go with it. And then Mario Monti, who I'm not a big fan of, he quashed the idea when he became prime minister. And then when Giorgio Meloni became prime minister, he restarted it. And Matteo Salvini is really pushing this. So they got the agreement signed. They're going to start. They got the funds ready. Will the bulldozers start? And then once they get done on their lands, on each side of their territory, Calabria and Sicily, we have to wait and see, will the actual bridge be built? So, governments change in Italy quite rapidly, and things change, and we'll see what happens. But so far, so good. This is a no-brainer, folks. It's a no-brainer. There's no reason why Sicily can't be connected to Italy and vice versa. People can transport themselves. They can transport goods and services much faster over a bridge than you can do by ferry or by boat. And then once they get that done, I'd like to see if they can do something with Sardinia and try to connect that as well. Because, if you're off on an island someplace, you're an island. I mean, that's really what you are. You're not part of the mainland. All things are equal, of course, and everybody's going to have their say and representatives in Parliament, but it's still different. And so, they've always kind of kept Sicily, the largest region they have, out there on the coastline, basically. But now it's going to be connected. And so this will bring greater continuity, more sense of unification. First time in history, this will take place. So we'll keep watching this, and we just hope that they'll finally complete it. And then I guess the final story is that what's going on in Tuscany, in Siena, the Siena Cathedral. We all know about the Sistine Chapel, and you look up on the ceiling there, and a lot of churches have the same thing. You look up on the ceiling, and you see this, stories of the Bible, of Christianity. But the Siena Cathedral, what they had the floor done in a way. They had about 56 panels that they had there, and full of biblical scenes, Roman and Greek philosophers, allegorical figures to inspire the faithful. But it was always covered. For the years, the decades, it's always covered. And so now they're going to uncover it, and they're going to do that until October 15th. This is going to celebrate the 25th Jubilee year. They're going to do this for that purpose. So you get to see all of the artwork that was done for this marble floor that they had, the graffito method that they did. This was completed in the 14th and 16th centuries. And there's one panel, I think for the first time in history, they're going to show it. The title of it is Hope, and they're going to have that there. So this is a historic opportunity for art. If you're there in Italy, you may want to take a trip to Siena and see this. I'm sure it's beautiful. I'm sure it's magnificent. And if I was there, I would definitely go check that out. Italy and art, no one beats it. Food also, music, everything. We have just a great, beautiful culture, and we have to celebrate it. We have to fight for it. We have to fight for it also because there's so many people out there for political purposes, for silly political purposes, really, and ideological dead ends. They want to just take away our culture here. They want to undo it and other things. So it was big news this last week, and we're working on a new edition of Primo. And it's all about language, the Italian language. We did this about 10 years ago. It was met with great popularity, so I want to do this again. And on the cover is going to be Dante. We're going to look at Dante's Inferno. We covered Dante before, but you can never, every 10 years, you probably have to do something with him because he's just had such great impact, great effect on our Italian culture, our Italian life, and throughout history. So we're going to look at the language of Dante's Inferno. We're going to look at how the Italian language exists today, how it's changing. And we're going to have a series on the Italian language schools that are available in Italy. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. But I want to thank you very much for tuning in. Again, our website is www.onlineprimo.com. Please like and subscribe to this video, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Thank you.